Hi, this is Jim Gibson with Blackstone Cybersecurity, and often when we're doing consulting for businesses, they ask us questions like, how do I hire an IT guy? What do I look for an IT person? What type of characteristics should they have? Things like that. And by the way, we help companies in this area. We can be consultants in this area, help you interview people, look at resumes, things like that, tell you who is probably going to be a good fit for what you need. But it's a good question, and a lot of people ask that, and I see a lot of people who do not have an IT background a lot of times, that they actually struggle with the resumes. Something may look good to them, and they hire that person only to find out 6 months later, after they spent all this money and time, that person really is not workable in that position. So they tend to go through an IT person after an IT person after an IT person. It's not very cost effective for the company, and on top of that, it's not only not cost effective for the company, but it's also a problem with the IT people. They get discouraged and everything else. But at any rate, how do you hire an IT person? So I took some notes down. I hope you don't mind if I refer to them often. And what you want to do is you want to pretty much figure out the technologies that you have. Do you have a Microsoft server? Well, you're going to need a Microsoft person. This Microsoft person should have a background, maybe even a certification in Microsoft. Should have experience in Microsoft, things like that. Now, if you're doing a lot of cloud work, that person should have some background in cloud. But what I notice is that people don't pay attention to what they have, and you have to know what you have first before you actually go out to look for someone to support you. And remember, I divide it up into three groups. You have an everyday IT person, and he has certain responsibilities. And you have a C-level person or a consultant that really sets policy and design and helps you like we do at our company, where we actually help you find, not find, but we help you interview. We help you in the interview to determine if should be a decent fit. And so you have those two people. Then you have your vendors, and the vendors have specialties. So let's start with the first thing. You're going to hire an individual to be your day-to-day IT person. What are you looking for? As I mentioned earlier, maybe it's that Microsoft. Maybe you have a Microsoft platform, and so you need someone that can add and remove users on that Microsoft platform. And not only add, remove users, but also do some basic troubleshooting on the PCs, do uploading of software, things like that. Able to they keep your network up and running, make sure the backups are done, make sure everything's taken care of. In reality, that's really what you need, day-to-day stuff. And a lot of times I see small businesses try to find someone that has every single aspect. They know how to cable, they know all about databases, they know about this, they know about that. They're cyber security people and things like that, and it's probably not the way to go. It's just, first of all, it's expensive. IT people tend to be more expensive than just your average employee. But at the same time, you might be requesting too much. You want someone that can do your day-to-day stuff, and that's who you need. Now, the second person I mentioned, or the second position I mentioned, is going to be someone at a C-level, a CIO, CTO, a Chief Information Security Manager, things like that. Those individuals should be at a C-level, and if you're not big enough to have that type of full-time person, then what you need is a educated consultant in that area who understands IT, not only understands IT, but also understands cybersecurity. And that person, really is going to set your priorities. It's going to set your policies and standards and things like that. Now, that person should design your IT department. And a lot of times what we have is we have the tail wagging the dog. So you go down to the IT technician who's doing your day-to-day stuff, and you say, what type of computer should I buy? In reality, that's going to be someone who is either your consultant or that C-level person should decide that. One company that I worked with had 2,000 endpoints. And they had every type of endpoint you could possibly think. So we had Dell, we had these off-brands that they bought from a local computer store. There was no standard as to what they should have inside, what type of processor, what type of design, what type of hard drive. Like a lot of people are going to solid-state hard drives. Really great idea these days that you should be on solid-state hard drives. But all these are policy things. How often do you change your computers? I recommend either once every 4 years or once every 5 years for a desktop. What type of configuration should be in that computer? What is your software that should be in that computer? And also, what are you going to allow people to do with that computer? It's a business computer. It needs to stay as a business computer. It shouldn't be used for other purposes. That's where you run into problems. Now, the nice thing about having that type of standardization is when you come to business continuity and business recovery, a disaster recovery, excuse me. When you get to that point, if you standardize on a certain type of computer, and let's say your building burnt down, okay, along with all your computers and everything else, well, if you only have one design computer, and you take that computer and you turn around and you bought it from Dell, let's say, and when you buy it from Dell, one of the things I recommend is maybe just leasing the computer rather than actually owning it. It might be more cost effective to lease it. Let them handle it at the end of life. But to make a long story short, you just go out and buy the exact same computer, and then you run your backup, and then you have everything you need. So policies, procedures, and all always should be done by C-level or by a professional consultant that knows what they're talking about when it comes to IT and cybersecurity. So that's what the consultant does. That's what the C-level person does. Now, the third person you should consider is your vendors. And vendors, remember, vendors are people that are going to provide an expertise to your company in IT that the consultant doesn't have or doesn't want to deal with. And your IT, day-to-day IT guy does not have those specialties, or if he does, he only has a small level. Now, I've noticed some local, go back a little bit, those day-to-day IT guys, sometimes they're just gung-ho, man. They want to do everything, when it comes to cable, and they want to do the cabling, and when it comes to cybersecurity, they want to do cybersecurity. When it comes to system design, they want to do system design. You do not want your day-to-day IT person making those decisions, because that's the tail wagging the dog. You really need that consultant. And the consultant should decide and help you decide, or the C-level person should decide or help you decide about the vendors that you need. There's some unique experiences, technology, things like that your day-to-day technician, day-to-day person that handles your network doesn't necessarily have a background. Does he have a background in, let's say, routers and switches? That's unusual to find a day-to-day IT person that has a really good, solid background in routers and switches. But not only that, how about cabling? Even though cabling appears to be easy, there's people out there that can do it more cost effectively. If you have an IT person spending, 4 or 5 hours pulling one cable when you could have paid, $150 or something like that from a cabling company to put that cable in, have it work the first time, use the right parts, everything else. Consistency matters, how they do it, the design, the cleanliness of the install, the fact that it's easily troubleshot if there's a problem. So that would be one vendor. Another vendor is a cybersecurity vendor that actually knows cybersecurity inside and out and is able to help you with training of your people, things like that. So you got a different type of vendors out there. Now, the thing you got to remember about vendors is vendors sell you what they can buy. So some vendors aren't certified, aren't trained, let's say, on Cisco. Cisco's really hard to be certified on, and it's really hard to train on, but it really is the standard these days. Cisco, Meraki, they're both Cisco products, but they're really hard to train on these things and find certified individuals. And if you're not doing certain type of programming in routers and switches every single day, routers, switches, and firewalls, then what happens is you tend to be rusty in that area. And your normal day-to-day IT person doesn't do that every day. So to make a long story short, you gotta pick vendors that have been around for a while, that really has your best interests in heart, not necessarily their pocketbook. So sometimes they'll sell you an off-brand because that's all they're allowed to sell. That's all they have certifications on to sell, is that off-brand. And so you end up with a mismatch of systems all throughout your network. And it really doesn't work very well that way. So that's why you need that consultant to have that consistency, not only in the equipment, in the purchasing routine. You should budget purchases. You know, as I said, 1/4 to 1/5 of your network needs to be changed. Or PCs also need to be changed, you know, every year. So you need to budget that. If you don't, it'll catch up with you eventually, and it will cause you a lot more difficulties in the future and lost time. So you need to have that type of consistency in your system. So you have to have the right vendor. And again, my experience with a lot of vendors is they couldn't get certified on a quality product, so they went with a product that's not quality, and all of a sudden you have a mismatch, and they don't communicate with each other properly when it comes to things like cybersecurity. So you really had to have that type of system in place, that type of organization, that type of consistency. And again, that's policy, that's standards, that's someone who knows what they're doing in the C area or in the consulting area. Not just any consultant, but a person who has the backgrounds in IT, policies, have backgrounds in cybersecurity, things like that. So that's your three people that you should be aware of, three areas. They overlap a little bit, as you could see in the diagram. They overlap a little bit. It's something you should be concerned about. If you just patch this together, it will come back to bite you eventually. So be organized. It's the most inexpensive way to run your network, is if you're organized and you plan this out, and you know, you do it in such a way. It takes a lot of time at the beginning, but it's going to save you tons of time at the end. I know this is a short video. There's a lot more that actually needs to be discussed. Again, Blackstone Cyber Security. Give us a call. We do consulting. We do design of networks. Been doing this for almost 40 years personally, but my staff has also been around for 20, 30 years also. So we have experience in all these areas, and we can assist you in many ways. Help you set up your network. We can also help you hire the right person for that day-to-day. We can also help your C-level people, CEO, well, of course CEO, but CTO, you know, the people who should be designing your network. We can help them with policies and procedures and things like that. Also, if you're, you know, like a defense contractor and you have to meet the requirements of a NIST installation, we can help you with those type of requirements. Again, my name is Jim Gibson with Blackstone Cyber Security, and thank you for watching my video.